Footnotes Chapter 18 一微子去之，箕子为之奴，必干剑而死。孔子曰：因有三人焉。At the time of the downfall of the imperial Yin dynasty, the one preceding that under which Confucius lived, of the three members of the imperial family, one left the country, one became a court jester, and one, who spoke the truth to the emperor, was put to death. Confucius, remarking on the above, said, the house of Yin in their last days had three men of moral character. Footnote 85. He was a remote ancestor of Confucius. 二留下会为士师，三处。人曰：子谓可以去乎？曰：直道而事人，焉往而不三处？枉道而事人，何必去父母之邦？ Confucius remarked of a well-known worthy of the time. As minister of justice, he was 3 times dismissed from office. People then said to him, is it not time for you to leave the country? But he answered, if I honestly do my duty, where shall I go to serve men without being liable to be dismissed in the same way? If I am willing to sacrifice my sense of duty, it is not necessary for me to leave my native country to find employment. 三其景公待孔子曰：若记事，则无不能以记。孟之贤待之曰：吾老矣，不能用也。孔子行。The reigning prince of a certain state on one occasion wished to employ Confucius, remarking, however, I cannot make him a minister of state, but I will make him a privy councillor. The prince further remarked, I am old now. I shall not be able to use his advice. When Confucius heard what the prince said, he immediately took his departure from the country. 四其人归女乐，季桓子受之。3日不朝，孔子行。The prime minister who held the power of government in Confucius' native state, after Confucius had risen to be minister of state, having on one occasion received a troop of actresses from another state, was so occupied with them that there was no meeting of ministers at the palace for 3 days. Confucius thereupon resigned and left his own country. 五楚狂介于歌，而过孔子曰：凤兮，凤兮，何德之衰？往者不可见，来者犹可追。已而，已而，今之从政者殆耳。孔子下，欲与之言，虚而辟之，不得与之言。When Confucius was on his travels, an eccentric person once passing by him sang aloud, O phoenix bird, O phoenix bird, where is the glory of your prime? The past, is useless now to change. Care for the future yet is time. Renounce, give up your chase in vain. For those who serve in court and state, dire peril follows in their train. Confucius then alighted and wished to speak with him. But the eccentric man hastened away so that Confucius had no chance of speaking with him. 六常举，桀逆偶而耕。孔子过之，使子路问今焉。常举曰：夫之于者为谁？子路曰：为孔丘。曰：是鲁孔丘于？曰：是也。曰：是之今矣。问于桀逆，桀逆曰：子谓谁？曰：为仲由。曰：是鲁孔丘之徒于？对曰：然。曰：滔滔者天下皆是也，而谁以易之？且而与其从辟人之事也，其若从辟士之事哉？忧而不辍。子路行以告。夫子午然曰：鸟兽不可与同群，无非斯人之徒与而谁与？天下有道，丘不与义也。On another occasion, Confucius on his travels saw 2 men working in the fields. He sent a disciple, the intrepid Chang Yu, to inquire for the ford. When Chang Yu came up to the men, one of them said to him, Who is he that is holding the reins in the carriage there? Chang Yu answered, It is Confucius. Is it not Confucius of Lu? Asked the man. Yes, replied Chang Yu. Then, rejoined the other, he knows the ford. Chang Yu then turned to the other of the two men, who said to him, Who are you, sir? I am Chang Yu, replied Confucius' disciple. Are you not a disciple of Confucius? Asked the man. Yes, replied Chang Yu. Then the man said, All men in the world are now in a hopeless drift. Who can do anything to change it? Nevertheless, it is better to follow those who renounce the world altogether than to run after those who only run from one prince to another. After saying that, the man went on with his work on the field without stopping again to take any notice of Chang Yu's question. When Chang Yu returned and reported what the man said, Confucius heaved a heavy sigh and said, I cannot live with the beasts of the field and birds of the air. If I do not live and associate with mankind, with whom shall I go to live? Besides, if the world was in order, there would then be no need for one to do anything to change it. 7. 子路从而后，欲丈人，以丈何由？子路问曰：子见夫子乎？丈人曰：四体不勤，五谷不分，孰为夫子？执其杖而云。子路拱而立，执子路粟，杀鸡为黍而食之，见其二子焉。明日，子路行以告。子曰：隐者也。使子路反见之，至则行矣。子路曰：不是无益，长幼之节，不可废也。君臣之义，如之何其废之？欲竭其身而乱大伦。君子之事也，行其义也。道之不行，以知之矣。On another occasion, when Confucius was on his travels, a disciple, the intrepid Chang Yu, got separated from the party. Chang Yu met an old man carrying across his shoulders, on a staff, a basket for weeds. Chang Yu said to him, Have you seen the teacher, sir? The old man looked at him and replied gruffly, Your body has never known toil, and you cannot tell the difference between the 5 kinds of grain. Who is your teacher? With that, the old man planted his staff on the ground and fell to his work, weeding the ground. Chang Yu, however, laid his hands across his breast and respectfully waited. Afterwards, the old Maro took Chang Yu to his home and made him pass the night in his house, cooking a fowl and making millet pudding for him to eat. The old man also presented his 2 sons to Chang Yu. The next day Chang Yu went on his way and, on rejoining Confucius, reported his adventure. He is a hermit, said Confucius, and sent Chang Yu back to see him. But when Chang Yu got to the place, the old man was nowhere to be found. When Chang Yu again returned, Confucius said, It is not right to refuse to enter the public service. For if it is wrong to ignore the duties arising out of the relations between the members of a family, how is it right to ignore the duties a man owes to his sovereign and country? A man who withdraws himself from the world for no other reason than to show his personal purity or motive is one who breaks up one of the greatest ties in the foundation of society. A good and wise man, on the other hand, who enters the public service, tries to carry out what he thinks to be right. As to the failure of right principles to make progress, he is well aware of that. 8. 佚民，伯夷，叔齐，于仲，夷义，朱张，柳下惠，少年。子曰：不祥其志，不辱其身。伯夷，叔齐于。谓柳下惠，少年，将至汝身矣。言中伦，行中律，其斯而已矣。谓于仲，夷义，隐居放言，身中轻，肺中全。我则异于事，无可无不可。Confucius, speaking of 6 worthies, famous in ancient times as men who withdrew themselves from the world, remarked of 2 of them, Bo Yi and Shu Qi, that they withdrew from the world because they would not give up their high aims, and, in that way, had not to put up with dishonor to their persons. Of 2 others who finally also withdrew from the world, Confucius remarked that they gave up high aims men put up with dishonor to their persons. But in whatever they said were found reasonable, and in whatever they did were found commendable. Finally, of the last two of the six worthies, Confucius remarked that they lived strictly as recluses and refused altogether to hold communication with the world. But they were pure in their lives, and so, entirely secluding themselves from the world, they rightly used their discretion. As for myself, said Confucius, finally, yet differently from those men I have mentioned above, I have no course for which I am predetermined, and no course against which I am predetermined. 9. 大师治是齐，亚饭干是楚，三饭辽是蔡，四饭缺是秦。古方书入于河，波涛舞入于汉，少师阳，姬庆香入于海。This section merely gives the names of the famous musicians and great artists of the time who, falling on a time of decay of art and failure of art patronage, had to wander scattered about from one state to another. One, it is said, went out overseas, perhaps to Japan. 10. 周公谓鲁公曰：君子不识其亲，不使大臣怨乎不已。故就无大故，则不弃也。无求备于一人。The original founder of the reigning house of Confucius' native state, who was known as our Lord of Chou, in his advice to his son and successor said, a ruler should never neglect his near relations. He should never give his great ministers cause to complain that their advice is not taken. Without some great reason, he should never discard his old connections. He should never expect from a man that he will be able to do everything. 11. 周有八士：伯达、伯士、仲突、仲忽、叔夜、叔夏、季随、季瓜。This section merely gives the name of 8 famous gentlemen of the time.